Powers That Be, sponsored by Alex R. White, personal injury lawyers you can trust.
Lawmakers on Capitol Hill are taking action in the wake of what authorities are calling an assassination attempt on President Donald Trump, as well as members of his cabinet. That was at the White House Correspondent dinner over the weekend. Thanks so much for joining us here on the Powers That Be. I'm Isaiah Kim Martinez. One of those lawmakers is Kentucky Senator Rand Paul. The Republican has filed a bill that specifically would move that project forward, the construction project, to totally revamp the east wing of the White House and turn it into a ballroom. The reason for this, he says, and many other lawmakers are echoing this as well, specifically on the Republican side, is they believe it's time to discuss a more secure space for many of these very national events that get a lot of attention. And they believe that this is a sort of reason to bring this up in conversation, to have a more secure location. And they believe that the East Wing ballroom that President Trump has talked about for many months, he says it will be privately funded, is exactly the kind of project that should move forward, again, in the wake of yet another act of political violence, according to authorities, on President Trump's life. This will be the third time since 2024, actually. A little bit more about Rand Paul, and actually a little bit more about Congressman James Comer here. He's another Republican from Kentucky. He is actually requesting a briefing from the U.S. Secret Service. You'll see exactly what he's talking about here. He wants to know what happened in this dinner specifically as far as security is concerned, the detail on the president. He said, quote, following last night's assassination attempt against Trump at the WHCD, talking about the White House Correspondents' dinner, he said specifically that they're going to try to ask these questions and see if there's any areas for improvement. And he ties this back to the fact that the Department of Homeland Security is currently not being funded, I believe, on day 70. That goes to fund the Secret Service. He says all these things will be touched on. Again, Democrats have been talking about the funding for DHS having more to do with ICE, immigration enforcement, holding it up because they want to see reforms there. But we're seeing sort of this keep coming back into the conversation, this time in the wake of that act of violence over the weekend. The shots fired again in Washington, D.C. Some other statements from some notable Kentucky politicians in the wake of this were Governor Andy Beshear, the Democrat here in Kentucky. He said the following, quote, violence has no place in the United States of America. The political violence we are seeing must end, and it must be condemned by all. Congressman Morgan McGarvey of Louisville, the Democrat, went on to say in his statement on X, quote, last night's shooting at the White House Correspondents' dinner is horrifying. He says, I'm grateful for the law enforcement officers who acted quickly to protect attendees, and I'm glad everyone is safe. We cannot allow political violence to become normalized in this country. Back to Senator Rand Paul. His statement was short. It was brief. He says, thank God our president is safe. Obviously, a lot more to come out in the investigation from this incident. I want to move on to some other news. Across the river in Indiana, actually, we know that medical marijuana, there has been an effort to reschedule it as a Schedule 3 drug instead of a Schedule 1. This is on the federal level, the Trump administration, which means a Schedule 3, if it were moved to that, it would be allowed to have some, or be recognized to have some medicinal value here. We know to this point it has been scheduled as the same as drugs like heroin and others that are deemed to have, by many doctors' accounts, much more dangerous impacts on your health. This could have a substantial impact on many states, including Kentucky, that have legalized medical marijuana. In Indiana, though, it is still illegal. But get this, after this rescheduling request happened from the Trump administration, the Justice Department, Governor Mike Braun, the Republican of Indiana, has requested that multiple state agencies have meetings on how to move forward on medical marijuana and the policies surrounding it. So could this mean Indiana legalizes medical marijuana in the years to come? That could be next, now that the federal government is sort of rolling back some of the requirements or some of the regulations on marijuana itself. So we'll have to see on that again across the river in the Hoosier State. Back on the local level in Louisville, actually, the Louisville mayor just a few days ago had his big budget proposal, a $1.1 million budget proposal where he outlined some of the areas where he would like to see your tax dollars in Louisville go to. Some of the notable items in this include LMPD's budget, which again, according to the mayor, if he had his way, would go up about 6% or so. That goes from $246 million to $260 million, according to the mayor's budget proposal. He also is asking for $20+ million for affordable housing, as well as $5.5 million for this new Highlands Shelby Park Library, which will be put right where that Mid-City Mall is right now. That's going to be redeveloped. So these are just some of the highlights of what the mayor is asking for. Ultimately, the Metro Council would have to give final approval to this. You see the Mid-City Market location that would be turned into that new library if the mayor, again, his budget request goes through. Here's what he said when we specifically asked about some other money put off to the side to redevelop the Belvedere in downtown Louisville. Here's what he had to say about that.
Most of the money is going to repair the crumbling infrastructure of a very needed parking garage, and also then turn it into, at the same time, into a world-class destination that will welcome the world into the heart of our city.
Again, the Belvedere has been something that the mayor has gotten and secured money from, including from the state, in years past, and he hopes it'll be an attraction point for tourists who come to the area. And again, he's looking to sort of revamp the garage you see just underneath along I-64, which has some 2,000 spots. He said it's dilapidated. It has not been, kind of up to date for a long, long time, and he wants to see that change. So $15 million will go to that as well. Again, the Metro Council will have the final say. They're going to start meeting here next month in May, and then we'll give final approval in June. We have a lot more to come in this show. We actually have an interview with a former state senator who in Kentucky was a Republican leader in the Kentucky Senate. He was the Senate Majority Floor Leader. We're going to talk about some of the many races we have this midterm cycle in Kentucky. You won't want to miss it. That conversation coming up after this word from our sponsor.
Hi, I'm Sue, distracted driver.
I'm attorney Alex White. If you're injured, visit SueDistractedDriver.com.
Welcome back on the Powers That Be. We're joined now by former Kentucky State Senator Damon Thayer, who's the longtime Majority Floor Leader. Damon, thanks so much for taking a few minutes.
Hi, Isaiah. Thanks for having me on your show.
You know, I know we talked a little bit during the break that, it's been a while since you've sort of delved back into the political sphere, but there is a lot to talk about. We know that you are plenty busy with your businesses, but we want to talk quickly about the U.S. Senate race first. We know that that's one that is closely watched. We know that everyone's sort of waiting to see whether the president weighs in on this. Let's start with the Republican side. There are those three main contenders that most folks are watching. Who do you as a front runner at this point in time with less than a month left?
Andy Barr is the definite front runner in the Republican race for the U.S. Senate. As a matter of fact, I think as each week goes by, he continues to widen his lead. As you know, Daniel Cameron led early on. He had that baked-in name ID from two statewide races. Andy continued as the hardest working candidate in the race on either side. Andy continued to show up where two or more people were gathered in any part of the state. He's run an excellent grassroots campaign. He's right on the issues. He's very close to President Trump. He's raised more money than anyone else. And now that people are really focused in on the race, he's taken the lead. And from what I am seeing in a variety of polls, he is surging at the right time with Election Day 3 weeks away.
We have seen a lot of ads hit the air. Daniel Cameron's now a part of that. Is there one that has sort of caught your eye? I know the Riley Gaines ad got a lot of attention just because of her celebrity in many ways. She's got quite the following. Is there one, do you think, that maybe has moved the needle for some folks to this point? Or are we still waiting for sort of the ad to change the trajectory? We still have some time.
Well, you brought up the Riley Gaines ad, and that to me has been the most memorable TV spot in this race. Riley Gaines started to make a name for herself on the political side in Frankfurt when Senator Robbie Mills brought her to the Capitol to testify for the Save Women Sports Act that we passed. And to see her go on to become a national celebrity is something that those of us in Kentucky should be really proud of. And that was a big get for Congressman Barr to get Riley to not only endorse him in this race for U.S. Senate, but also to do what I thought was a very effective TV endorsement of Andy Barr's candidacy. So to me, so far, that has been the most memorable ad I've seen. Lots of negative ads coming from the likely third place finisher in this race, but nothing pretty memorable from his camp at all. As far as Daniel Cameron, nice guy. I like him. Full disclosure, I endorsed Andy Barr right at the beginning. Daniel just doesn't have the money here down the home stretch. I don't think to overtake a surging Andy Barr to win the primary.
And again, we are one-on-one with Damon Thayer, the former Republican floor leader, or the Senate Majority floor leader in the Kentucky Senate. I want to move on to the 4th Congressional. That is one that the president has weighed in on, and he has endorsed and backed the Republican challenger in this race, and that is Ed Gowrine. Of course, Thomas Massie is the incumbent who so many voters, not just in the northern Kentucky area, but going west across the state there, know him very well. How much does the Trump endorsement, in your mind, make this a tight race? Is it a tight race in your mind?
I think it is a tight race. I would score it a toss-up right now. I would probably give some of the momentum to Ed Gowrine. I know Ed, a hardworking farmer, businessman, and his military background is quite impressive as well. He is running a solid race. The Trump money has come in for him, and certainly that Trump endorsement means a lot. I've heard on the ground that Thomas Massie is in big trouble in Boone County, which has been, the bedrock for him. Of course, he's from Vanceburg and Lewis County in eastern Kentucky, but his real base is in Boone County. And if he's in trouble in Boone County, he's in trouble in the entire district, which extends from the Big Sandy River in eastern Kentucky all the way to Louisville, Oldham County, and following the Ohio River across the northern border of Kentucky. I think a lot of people are tired of Massie's act. He voted no on the tax bill. His animosity towards Israel, I think, has really turned a lot of people off. And there are people who have been loyal to him for a long, long time who have decided they've really had enough. That, there was a time when his act was sort of cute and clever, and it really didn't mean a lot in terms of the votes. But now that the margins in the House of Representatives are so close, and people see Thomas Massie voting with the Democrats and sort of hanging out with the squad, it's really turned a lot of people against him. And it would not surprise me if Ed Gowrine and if Thomas Massie lost. It could go either way, but I would say with 3 weeks to go, less than that till early voting starts, I think that the momentum, President George H.W. Bush 41, used to talk about the Big Mo, and he ran a lot of political races in his life. Some he won, some he lost, but he talked about the Big Mo and the momentum. And I think Ed Gowrine has the momentum right now. I think the fact that Thomas Massie is in the race of his life does tell you, even if he wins, it's probably not going to be by a big margin. A lot of his loyalists are turning on him, and he's going to have to rethink his approach to being a congressman. I mean, some of us would just like to hear him criticize a Democrat for once instead of criticizing Republicans all the time. But obviously, that's going to be one of the most closely watched races in the country, and I can't predict it would go. But again, I would say right now, using one of my famous horse racing metaphors, we're deep in the home stretch, and it's neck and neck between Massey and Galron.
I want to real quickly move on to the 6th Congressional, which is, of course, you know that very well. You know the voters in that district well. You know, the Republican side, it seems like it will come down to either Ralph Alvarado or State Representative Ryan Dotson. It seems like it's coming down to those two. Democratic side, we have Zach Dembo and Sherilyn Stevenson, who are both the top racers there. You know, a lot of folks call this a purple district. Do you believe that to be true, and do you expect this to really kind of come down to the wire between the top contenders on each side?
Well, I don't think it's a purple district anymore. I think Congressman Barr worked very hard to make this a red district, and it's because the collar counties around Fayette County, like where I live here in Scott County. I mean, I'm coming to you from my home office here in Georgetown, Kentucky, right in the heart of the 6th district. These collar counties around Fayette have gone red, and then some of the eastern Kentucky counties also are even deeper red than the sort of suburbs of, say, Georgetown and Nicholasville that surround Lexington. I think that Ralph Alvarado is the front runner. He's raised more money than anyone else, $1.15 million. He's been endorsed by the U.S. Chamber of Commerce, and he's gotten major support from AIPAC for his pro-Israel stance. He has long ties to President Trump. He introduced him as part of President Trump's Hispanic effort at the 2016 Republican National Convention. And the last I heard, he's got a double-digit lead and over the other two Republicans in the race. And the other thing, I know Ralph Alvarado. I helped him get elected to the state Senate in 2014. He was running against the Senate Democratic leader, R.J. Palmer, a very popular incumbent from Winchester. We pulled that race in July or August, and Ralph was down 33 points. And we made a decision to back Ralph heavily because we saw a path to victory, because Ralph sleeps about 4 hours a night, I'm convinced. He's a doctor, you know, and he was still seeing patients while he was on the campaign trail. He came from behind and won that race by 6 points. By 6 points when he was down 33 against a popular incumbent, including the fact that it was the Senate Democrat leader. Nobody's going to outwork Ralph Alvarado. And I predict he's going to be the next congressman. He'll win the primary comfortably. And I predict he'll win the race in the fall against whichever same Democrat comes out of that primary.
Do you have a guess who comes out on the other side?
We've already, by the way, I've already helped engineer the defeat of Sherilyn Stevenson once. I'm ready to do it again if she's the nominee. But my Democrat friends tell me that Zach Dembo actually is the candidate with the momentum in that race.
And both Zach and Ralph Alvarado have both been on the air, too, I know. So if you look at sort of the advantage there, that pretty much has been them two. We'll have to see kind of how that plays out May 19th. Finally, I want to talk about the governor's race, who you've sort of teased in our last interview, I believe, right as you were leaving the Kentucky Senate. You sort of said that was something that you were maybe thinking about, but of course you had some of your private business interests, you know, bourbon, horse racing, that takes a lot of your time. Have you given any more thought to the governor's race? We know we officially have Democrat Jacqueline Coleman, the lieutenant governor, in.
I appreciate you asking, Isaiah. And look, anybody who runs for the state house or the state senate, regardless of any disclaimers they give, thinks about running for governor someday, and myself included. But I am not going to be a candidate for governor in 2027. I believe that Jamie Comer will announce at the end of this year, once he's reelected to Congress, that he's going to run for the Republican nomination for governor. And not only do I think he will be a landslide choice as the Republican nominee, but I think, again, to use a horse racing term, he's 3 to 5 to be elected the next governor and take over the governor's mansion in December of 2027. He's got a lot of friends around the state, not just in the 1st Congressional District. and he's really been preparing to be governor his whole life. He's done a great job as chairman of the Oversight Committee, holding the Democrats' feet to the fire up in Washington, D.C. And I believe Republicans around this state are ready to rally around James Comer to be the next governor of Kentucky.
It seems he brings up the Lieutenant Governor Jacqueline Coleman a lot as sort of the person that he believes have been sort of chosen, selected, anointed by the Democrats. Is that a strategic move? Does he want to face Jacqueline Coleman in the general? I mean, how do you see that playing out if it was him? Do you see it being them two, or if a Rocky Adkins comes in, does that shake things up a little bit? And is that someone Republicans don't want to face?
Oh, it doesn't matter who we face. It can be Rocky or Jacqueline. We're still going to win. And look, the worst kept secret in Kentucky is that Rocky Atkins has a burning desire deep in his bosom more than anybody in the Commonwealth to be governor. He barely lost to Andy Beshear in the primary back in 2019, and he's been a loyal soldier to Andy Beshear, and it's got to be tough for him to have to support that guy as often as he has. But look, it's only a matter of time before Rocky announces that he's running for governor, and we're just going to sit and watch. I mean, I can't wait to get my box of popcorn and a bourbon, a Kentucky Senator bourbon on a big rock, which is the best way to drink it, and watch the fireworks fly as Andy Beshear's lieutenant governor squares off against Andy Beshear's senior advisor. This is going to be fun to watch, to see who will move on to be the sacrificial lamb to face James Comer in November of 27 in the general election. Republicans can't wait for it, and I don't think we care who wins. We just think it's going to be fun theater to watch, and it's going to be funny to watch Andy Beshear tie himself up in knots and try to figure out how to thread that needle between two of his closest advisors running against each other while he tries to get out of the Iowa caucus with his political hide in February of 2028.
And of course, Michael Adams has also been, flirting with the idea of running for governor on the Republican side as well. We'll have to see if and when his announcement comes down. Before I let you go, I real quick did want to go back to the U.S. Senate for a second. The Democratic side, who do you believe comes out of that to face the winner? I know you believe Andy Barr's got the edge, Republican.
Yeah, probably Charles Booker, but it wouldn't surprise me if Amy McGrath won. I haven't seen much from any of them. Full disclosure, Dale Romans is a friend of mine. He's one of my favorite Democrats. He trains horses for the racehorse partnership I'm in. As a matter of fact, we won a race at Keeneland last week. Dale's running a campaign as sort of an independent, moderate Democrat. Unfortunately for him, that's probably not the kind of Democrat that Democrat primary voters want to nominate for the U.S. Senate. So I would say it's going to be one of the left-wing liberals like Booker or McGrath, both of whom have been the nominee before, have tremendous name ID statewide. One of them will probably emerge. My gut tells me it'll probably be Booker.
Well, Damon Thayer, we appreciate your time. Former state senator, former majority floor leader in the Kentucky Senate. He knows Kentucky politics, and you got a lot of business interest taking your time nowadays. So we appreciate you taking a minute to go back into the political sphere with us.
Anytime, Isaiah. I'm just a recovering politician. Happy that somebody like you wants to hear what I have to say every now and then.
All right. Well, we appreciate your time. This is the Powers That Be. Thank you so much for joining us.
Powers That Be, sponsored by Alex R. White. Personal injury lawyers you can trust.